Imagine a single waterway carrying 1/5 of the world's oil every day, the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow stretch of sea is not just a route for ships, it's the lifeline of the global economy, a vital artery that keeps the world's engines running. This narrow passage between Iran and Oman is the main artery for global energy, connecting Persian Gulf oil producers to the world. Every drop of oil that leaves the Gulf must pass through here, making it a strategic crossroads for nations and industries alike. At just 21 miles wide at its narrowest, it's a choke point that gives bordering countries, especially Iran, immense leverage. Control over this slender corridor means influence over the world's energy supply, and with so much at stake, the stakes couldn't be higher. Every day, massive tankers and container ships pass through, making it a hub of international commerce. The constant movement of vessels here is a testament to the relentless demand for oil and goods, and any interruption could bring global trade to a standstill. Any disruption here sends shockwaves through global supply chains, affecting everything from fuel to food. Prices can skyrocket overnight, and shortages can ripple out to every corner of the globe, impacting daily life in ways most people never imagine. That's why international navies, especially the US, patrol these waters to ensure freedom of navigation. Their presence is a constant reminder of the strait's importance and the ever-present risk of conflict in these tense waters. Tensions have always simmered here, but now the balance has shattered. Recent events have pushed the region to the brink, with military buildups and diplomatic standoffs threatening to ignite a wider crisis. The Strait of Hormuz has become the epicenter of a global crisis. What happens here doesn't just stay here, it sends shockwaves through markets, governments, and societies worldwide. What happens here will ripple across the entire world, shaping the future of energy, security, and international relations for years to come. On April 18, 2026, Iran's Revolutionary Guard made a stunning announcement. The Strait of Hormuz was now completely closed to all maritime traffic. Overnight, one of the world's most vital waterways was declared a military zone, and every ship, civilian or military, became a potential target. The world watched in disbelief as the IRGC's fast attack craft and warships took up positions, sealing off the narrow strait that carries a third of global oil shipments. This dramatic escalation was a direct response to the US naval blockade of Iranian ports, a move that had already pushed tensions to the brink. The blockade, part of a war launched by the US and Israel over Iran's nuclear ambitions, had crippled Iran's economy and isolated it from global trade. Now, Iran was striking back with a move that threatened to drag the entire world into chaos. Iran's message to the world was unmistakable. If we can't trade, neither can anyone else. The closure of the strait sent shockwaves through global markets, as oil tankers and cargo ships were forced to halt, stranded at sea with nowhere to go. The IRGC's strategy relies on asymmetric warfare, thousands of fast attack boats, anti-ship missiles, naval drones, and deadly sea mines. Even the most advanced navies in the world now face a gauntlet of threats, making the strait a deadly trap for any vessel that dares to enter. Iran's new supreme leader, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, appeared on national television, vowing bitter defeat for any enemy ship that tries to pass. His words echoed across the region, signaling Iran's resolve and willingness to escalate if challenged. This isn't just military posturing, it's a calculated act of economic warfare. By weaponizing the Strait of Hormuz, Iran is leveraging its geographic power to inflict maximum pain on its adversaries and the global economy. By closing the strait, Iran is forcing the world to share in its pain, internationalizing the crisis, and making it impossible for any nation to ignore the consequences. Diplomats scramble, and emergency meetings are called at the United Nations, as the world seeks a way out of the standoff. The stakes couldn't be higher. Global energy supplies, international trade, and the security of entire regions now hang in the balance. Oil prices skyrocket, and markets reel from the uncertainty. The world faces a dangerous new reality, one where a single decision in Tehran can upend the global order. Governments everywhere are forced to reconsider their strategies and alliances. The IRGC's threat is real, and the world must now decide how to respond. Will nations risk open conflict or seek a diplomatic solution before it's too late? The Strait of Hormuz is no longer just a strategic choke point. It's a flashpoint for global conflict, a place where the next major war could ignite. The crisis has entered a new, perilous phase. Every hour brings new developments, and the risk of miscalculation grows. The world is watching and waiting, hoping that cooler heads will prevail before the crisis spirals out of control. Within hours of Iran's announcement, violence erupted in the Strait of Hormuz. IRGC gunboats fired on 2 Indian-flagged ships, forcing them to flee. A container ship near Oman was hit by a projectile, damaging its cargo. Even a cruise ship reported a near miss, sparking panic among passengers. Iran's blockade is indiscriminate. Any vessel is now a potential target. Insurance rates have soared, and shipping companies are refusing to risk their crews or cargo. The region has become a no-go zone, grinding maritime traffic to a halt. The IRGC's tactics, fast boats, missiles, and drones, make the strait a deadly maze. The message is clear: Iran will enforce its blockade by force. The world's busiest waterway is now a war zone. The world reacted with alarm and condemnation. India, whose ships were attacked, lodged a formal protest and demanded protection for its vessels. European powers condemned Iran's actions, but also urged restraint, fearing a wider war. Asian nations like Japan and South Korea scrambled to secure alternative oil supplies, activating emergency plans. Middle Eastern exporters like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, now cut off from their main export route, face economic crisis. Pipeline alternatives are limited. The region's economies are at risk. The entire world is caught between Iran's escalation and the US's hardline stance. The strait's closure is a global emergency. The US responded with defiance. President Trump vowed to maintain the blockade on Iran and rejected any restrictions on navigation. He threatened further escalation if Iran didn't back down, signaling readiness for direct confrontation. The Pentagon is preparing to challenge the blockade, risking direct clashes with the IRGC. Iran's swarm tactics make the strait perilous even for the world's most powerful navy. The standoff is a test of nerve and strategy, rooted in the dispute over Iran's nuclear program. The US demands total dismantlement. Iran refuses to capitulate. With neither side willing to compromise, the crisis is a dangerous game of brinkmanship. The world holds its breath as the standoff intensifies. The economic fallout is immediate and severe. Oil prices have skyrocketed as buyers scramble for dwindling supplies. Fuel shortages and panic buying are spreading, especially in developing countries. Higher energy costs mean rising prices for food, transport, and basic goods, pushing millions toward poverty. Global shipping is in chaos. Major companies are rerouting vessels around Africa, adding weeks and costs to deliveries. Consumer goods will be delayed and more expensive worldwide. The region's energy infrastructure is badly damaged. Recovery could take years. Even if the strait reopens, the world faces a prolonged period of high prices and economic pain. The crisis exposes the fragility of global supply chains. The shockwaves will be felt for years to come. Amid the chaos and uncertainty gripping the region, frantic diplomacy is underway. Behind closed doors and in public forums, world leaders and their envoys scramble to prevent a wider catastrophe. The stakes could not be higher, as every decision made in these tense rooms may shape the fate of millions. Pakistan has stepped into the fray, mediating tirelessly, shuttling proposals and counter-proposals between Washington and Tehran. Their diplomats move swiftly from one capital to another, hoping to bridge the widening gulf. But deep mistrust and seemingly irreconcilable demands stall any real progress. Each side suspects the other of hidden motives, and every word is weighed with suspicion. Iran, for its part, refuses to surrender its enriched uranium or lift the blockade without ironclad guarantees from the West. Their negotiators remain firm, unwilling to compromise on what they see as vital national interests. Tehran also demands the immediate release of billions in frozen assets, arguing that economic relief is essential for any meaningful agreement. At the same time, Iran insists on maintaining control over the strategic Strait of Hormuz until a comprehensive peace treaty is signed, seeing it as leverage in the negotiations. Meanwhile, the fragile ceasefire in Lebanon, one of Iran's key demands, hangs by a thread, threatened by new outbreaks of violence and the ever-present risk of escalation. The tragic death of a French UN peacekeeper serves as a stark reminder of how quickly the situation can unravel and how dangerous the stakes have become for all involved. The diplomatic process now teeters on a knife's edge, with negotiators exhausted and tempers fraying as the hours tick by. Every setback, every misstep, risks plunging the entire region back into open conflict. A war that could draw in powers from far beyond the Middle East. Around the world, anxious eyes watch and wait. The hopes of millions rest on the possibility of a breakthrough, but that hope seems increasingly elusive with each passing day. The fate of millions depends on what happens next. The clock is ticking and the world holds its breath, hoping for peace before time runs out. Behind the headlines, the human toll is staggering. Thousands have died in Iran and Lebanon. Millions are displaced or living in fear. Bombed-out towns, destroyed infrastructure, and shortages of food and medicine define daily life. Iran's economy is shattered. Ordinary people face hyperinflation and unemployment. The blockade only deepens their suffering. Geopolitical games have real, tragic consequences for families across the region. The world's focus on strategy and oil often obscures the true price of war. For those caught in the middle, peace feels heartbreakingly out of reach. The world stands at a crossroads. If U.S. warships challenge the blockade, direct conflict is almost certain. Diplomats scramble for a solution, but hopes are fading. Even if the strait reopens, economic damage will linger. High prices, disrupted trade, and fragile supply chains. The crisis is a stark reminder of our global interdependence and vulnerability. The next days will decide whether the world steps back from the brink or plunges into wider war. The fate of global peace and prosperity hangs in the balance. All eyes are on the narrow waters of the Strait of Hormuz. The stakes have never been higher. The world waits, hoping for restraint, and fearing the worst.